Welcome to Beyond the Policy, the podcast where we go past the fine print and into the real stories that shape how we live, work, and protect what matters most. I'm Matt Carafa, risk advisor, consultant, and founder of the Be Better Foundation, where each week sit down with clients, colleagues, and industry voices to talk about business, life, and the passions that drive each of us and the areas we can all work on to truly be better. This is Beyond the Policy. Welcome to Beyond the Policy. Excited to get into a conversation with Ben Timmons with Technique Roofing. So Ben, thanks for taking some time out.
Not a problem.
And as we get started, kick us off a little bit about your background and what you're up to now.
So I'm in the commercial roofing field. So I work and own with my cousins Technique Roofing Systems. We are a commercial roofing contractor. So that means we are installing the roof, fixing buildings, fixing leaks, doing repairs, and we perform that work in Ohio and all the surrounding states. So that is what I'm doing now. So
What have you done before you were in the roofing business? What were you up to?
So before the roofing business, I grew up in Northwest Ohio. My family started the roofing business, so my dad and my uncle started it. So in the summers after high school, I was working on the roof and installing roofs. And then I joined the National Guard. During college, I started a commercial cleaning company called the Grime Police, which was really a lot. I learned a lot of valuable lessons running my own company.
Sure.
Which was one of them was how to make no money.
Key part of success.
So, like how to work really hard and make no money, not just like no sales, like how to work 100 hours a week and make no money. So, even worse than no sales.
Right.
But, so that was really something I actually enjoyed a lot. I cleaned a ton of toilets. It was incredible. Actually, I did like floor care mainly, so I was doing like Walgreens and things like that, and they would pay me $85 to go in and dust mop, auto scrub, and then buff them. And then they gave me the opportunity, if I wanted to clean both bathrooms, it was an additional $15. So I was like, I'm already here.
Give me another toilet.
give me something else to do, But so I did that, and then in 2018, I joined the family business full time, and I was doing leak repair, and then opportunity came up to come into the office, run the service department, which was really big enough to have somebody running it, but it was kind of like the first step towards that, and then did that and grew that, and then brought in another guy to do that, and then really I just started focusing on sales and marketing of the company.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. So again, 2018, 7 years ago, a lot of changes.
Yeah.
What have you seen from the roofing standpoint or kind of that contracting field in general in those last 7 years? What changes have you seen?
So there's a lot of consolidation. I would say that's one of the biggest, macro wise, consolidation is going on a lot with manufacturers for one, and with contractors across the board. There's a lot of private equity now. I would say in the last 5 years that's come into the space. I don't know how great it's going for them or not. Seems like, they're really smart and really good at business, but contracting is it's a hard business. It's not as maybe black and white as a lot of things are. So, but from the manufacturer's perspective, I mean, it's not private equity. It's just like Wholesome is a company that owns Lafarge Concrete, and very large company out of Sweden, and they bought Duralast, which was a family-owned manufacturer of PVC out of Saginaw, Michigan. So Duralast is a manufacturer of PVC. They're a family-owned company, one of the last manufacturers. I mean, they sold for over $1 billion to Wholesome, and now they have taken over. It's been probably 2 years.
Okay.
And then they also bought Malarkey Shingles. They bought Geico. They bought Elevate, which was Firestone. It used to be called Firestone out of, they do a lot of things.
Right.
Elevate does. Primarily the division they bought is PVC, TPO roofing manufacturing, and EPDM. And then they also have now consolidated all those companies they bought into a new company called Amorize, and now it's a public on the stock exchange. You can purchase it. But there's a lot of consolidation around that. And it makes sense because why all the money's there is because the projections are it's going to grow from like 50% by 2034. Contracting is. So
new build, replacing old stuff. What do you see?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of new stuff, but mainly a lot of re-roofing. So there's a lot of buildings that are currently standing in America that over that time period are going to need new roofs.
Got it. If we take it a step lower and more the micro, you think of all the labor and materials that have changed probably in the last 4 to 5 years, COVID, call it what you want. Have you seen that kind of rebound in the more recent term?
Yeah, so from that angle, as far as pricing of materials, so everything went crazy everywhere. So it wasn't like we were any different. And it was constant price changes, probably like every 3 months, 4 months for a while. Since then, it's come down actually some, which you never see. You always think like once it goes up, it's never coming down. So
I can relate to that.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but it has come down, and I think it's stabilized really kind of where it's at. And I don't know, I would say it's a supply and demand kind of swing, which made it come down some just because most roofing companies this year have slowed down.
Sure.
So, but in labor, I mean, it's always tough to get people. That's always a big thing in the industry. Like, how do you get good people? Where's all the good people at? We used to have good people. But, I mean, we do pretty well. We also pay very well. I mean, we pay $6 more an hour starting out than our competitors do, which is, you figure it's $2,000 a year per dollar.
Per person, yeah.
So it's, the $12,000 extra a year we're paying people than anyone around us. So I think that helps us. We have pretty good retention. But, yeah, we do need more people. We're still hiring. We just hired 3 guys in the last 2 weeks. So,
yeah.
But, it's just a constant thing with labor.
You mentioned kind of that growth of 50% in the industry. Any other shifts or market indicators you look at that you pay attention to when doing projections or what the next 2 to 5 years looks like for Technique?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the amount of leads we get, I would say, is a good one. And then also we go to a lot of in-person trade shows across different industries because everybody needs a roof. So we're at cold storage shows and warehouses and schools and, there's a lot of different dynamics in the markets because schools get their money different ways than a private business would get their money. So sometimes schools have a lot of money depending on what legislation is put in place, and sometimes they don't have any money, and sometimes they have to spend that money, otherwise it goes away. And so it depends. If being us, the best thing we can do and any other contractor is have a diverse customer base. So we do fast food, we do all sorts of things, healthcare, apartments. So there's always historically, an industry that's doing well.
Right.
So if you can be spread out so much, and one of them might be doing better than the others, so maybe the different percentages of your revenue just vary, but you can kind of still keep growing.
Right. And with a wide base of clientele, I would imagine there's some similar objections you would get. Obviously, if it's raining inside, what you do is probably going to fix that.
Yes.
But, if it's in their budgeting or planning process, outside of price, because I'm sure it's always cost too much and I want to pay lower.
Yeah.
Outside of that, what other objections do you see or hear the most when you and your sales guys are out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. A lot of times it's price, obviously. And the other thing we try to get in front of those things.
Sure.
Because once you're getting objections, it's always hard to overcome them. But we like to educate. So make the customer understand what they're buying. Because there's so many different things you can get with a roof. It's not just, we're doing commercial, so it's flat, and there's the edge. What kind of edge do you want? Do you want metal? Do you want a vinyl edge? And these vary in cost significantly. I mean, it could be $8 a lineal foot for edge if you want new downspouts. And so a lot of these jobs we end up losing, I would say, when we go drive by that place, we'll see it was done and, they didn't replace the downspouts. They didn't cover the ductwork with membrane. And that's a failure on our part because we didn't make sure the customer knew all the different things we were doing in that price. So I think it's just about educating the customer, because
Sure.
we want to make sure that we're doing, and then like the term value engineering is always thrown around, and it's such a, it's basically like, how do we make this roof cheaper but still last? And that's fine, and it's just a fancy word to say it. But we just got to make sure that we are not apples to apples, but we show the customer why we're more money, or why we're doing it this way, because we've seen it work over 20 years and not. So we just don't want to put something on and it only works 7.
Right.
So
because you and I have chatted, about some things from the insurance standpoint, roofs replacements and updates, top of the list when it comes to the insurance side of quoting a new building. And obviously you probably see on a daily basis of the impact of that would be to a business, because you're looking on 50, 100,000 square foot footprints on roofs. Any particular business or job you've recently had that you could show what technique was able to do for that business and or their property?
Yeah, I mean, we had one recently, and it was a school system actually, and they had one building that they were going to get done for, it was like 1.5, 1.6 million, and it was us getting in front of like educating the customer and finding out what they actually needed, because they were planning on tearing this building down in 20 years. So we were able to talk to the building department and not tear everything off, just take off the top layer, and got approved. It was spray foam, so we scarfed it down and then went on top of that. But because we did that, and the other people that were quoting it were really giving them a Cadillac of roof. It was like the best you can get, which is fine. But if you're going to tear the building down, if that's your overarching plan, maybe you don't need a roof that's going to last 35 years or 30 years. If you just wanted to get 20. So we ended up doing 3 buildings for the same cost as they were going to get one done for one building. And I thought that was pretty, that's a pretty good value.
And I think that goes to your process of, if you didn't know they were going to tear it down in 20 years, it would have changed your approach, and
yeah,
you might not be able to get it. So very cool. So a couple questions as it relates to, family business, working with family.
Yes.
I'm sure it has its ups and downs.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes to partnership, collaboration with your sales teams, with management that might be family, what's important to you when it comes to the partnership and collaboration piece?
I would say trust is important, right? So if you have that, the other stuff is easy. And when I'm looking at hiring salespeople, like one of the most recent sales guys I hired is a friend of mine for, I don't know, forever, basically. We grew up together, and he went into law enforcement, and so he was a detective at the time when he came to work for us, and he didn't really know. I mean, he's a smart guy, so he can figure it out, right? If he's solving cases, he probably can figure out roofing. So he can do it, but he doesn't know much about roofing at the end of the day. So, but I can trust him, and that, it's like, if you have that foundation, just like a marriage or anything else, I mean, that really is significant, and then you can build it from there. You can educate, with your roof nerd hat. Exactly.
You can teach them everything they need to know about roofs, but
we can teach
some of the things you can't teach. Trust would be one of them. So, so if we go down that path a little bit outside of roofing, what has been involved in with your family or community? What are you passionate about?
Well, I have a bunch of young kids, so it's been basically just them. So my oldest is 6, and I have twins that are 3. So a lot of it has been just being at home and hanging out with the kids, but they're starting to do things now, and I do like to golf as well.
Yeah.
If I can do that, that's a good day.
So.
And
I know you spend, with your footprint, you mentioned Ohio and surrounding states, a lot of windshield time. When you're in the car, are you podcast, books, calls? What are you doing?
Well, when you're in the car so much, you get sick of everything. I would say that. So.
What about silence?
Yes, sometimes that's the best. I mean, if you drive for like 12 hours in a day, at some point you drive for like over an hour and just think. So, But yeah, I mean, obviously, I try to listen to as much things as I can. I like to listen to audiobooks because it's easier to consume it. I mean, you can rewind it too when you're like, wait, what? I was zoning out. I didn't hear it, so you can just rewind it. And then, it's just a lot of business books. I mean, there's a lot of great ones. I like nonfiction stuff. There's a book about Edward Shackleton, who is a captain of this expedition that goes to Antarctica for the first time, and they're going to like cross it, and their ship basically gets pinned up in ice, and then they have to get out, and they like walk, and everybody survives. It's a crazy story. So like, you know, something like that. And it's also related to like leadership and and how this guy managed to rally a, you know, crew that was literally in the desolate area of nowhere to all survive. And so that's kind of a cool story. But I mean, I like to listen to marketing people, like someone like Gary Vaynerchuk and others. I mean, there's plenty of people. So
yeah, if they're get back to your, it could be personal or work related. If you had a magic wand and could change one thing about your industry or a misconception about the roofing world, anything that comes to mind that you would change?
There's a lot of different things. I would say in relation to the insurance part of it, you know, since you're in insurance, I think there's a lot of bad actors that make it hard for everybody as far as pushing things that aren't damaged from storms. And, you know, like when you're a huge conglomerate of an insurance company, there's going to be things that get pushed through even though maybe it wasn't storm related. And the only reason is it's, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the insurance companies either, but I think there's like a big kind of macro event of contract, because the number one buyer of insurance of roofing is insurance companies in the United States. So, and when there's these roofs that are getting done that probably wasn't roof damage, all it does is inflate everybody's cost. And not that, like, you know, like the insurance companies, you know, they also like, oh, we didn't make any money this year, but we have a stadium. So, you know what I mean? So there's things out both ways. But I don't know how that all solves itself. So you would need like almost a magic wand to fix it, because there's a lot of back and forth with that. And we don't storm chase, but our customers that get impacted by storms, we help them get new roofs. And, you know, obviously if there's a big storm that rolled through and we have a customer at his roof and next door, we might go talk to them.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, but there's whole companies built on storm chasing. And I think there's a service to be had there where, you know, these people need help. So if you're actually providing this service and you're going in and deploying people and fixing things in a timely fashion.
Legitimately.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for it, because, I mean, these storms are huge and tons of destruction. But, yeah, I would say that would be something that would be interesting to see how that fixes. Because to me, if the insurance companies are buying all the roofs, there's going to be some sort of like Empire Strikes Back moment. And I think it just happened, actually, because one of these insurance companies bought data, or AccuLinks, which is basically a CRM software where all the roofers have all their pricing information on.
Oh yeah.
And so now the insurance companies are going to know exactly kind of what these people are making and what's a fair wage.
Sure.
So, you know, but there's a lot of roofs that you can just prevent a lot of that by just having somebody look at it.
Right.
You know, and a lot of, I feel like I could save insurance companies tons of money if they just had me go look at their clients' roofs. Like it would, and you know, maybe it's not so great for the client, but like you want to be properly insured and be fair.
Yeah.
And again, like some objections we have when we talk to people when there was an insurance event is like, well, I don't want my premiums to go up if I file a claim. But their premiums are going to go up regardless because
everybody else
is filing claims. So it's like
it's a catch-22.
Yeah. So sometimes people think it's too good to be true that they're going to get a new roof, and then, you know, there's some policies that are wrote in a way that don't help the insurance company at all, but help the client, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. One of them would be, I would say, cosmetic damage on metal roofs. Like, I don't know why insurance companies are writing that into a policy. I mean, because we did a lot of metal roofs one year because they all got cosmetically damaged, but they were still fine.
Functionally.
Yeah, functionally they were fine. But, so yeah, I think that's kind of fading away, though, in most places. But maybe here in Ohio it's slow to
catch up.
I mean, because there's not a whole lot of hailstorms in Ohio, but there has been some recently.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And from the insurance industry, we're definitely starting to see, starting in the personal lines on the homes, companies take action against exactly what you were saying, and that will eventually make its way to the commercial market and obviously insurance companies are going to be buying roofs from you if there is damage and all of that. So,
and we've worked with we've worked with Cincinnati Insurance a lot on claims, and they have some really smart people that come out and look at it. And we're not trying to get more money for. We're just trying to do what got damaged, because there are legitimate damages to these roofs, and sometimes they take time to show. I mean, if you have a giant hailstorm, it might not show immediately, but if you look underneath or come back in 3-4 months, you might see it.
Sure.
But yeah, there are some things that I see, like flat roofs that have cosmetic metal damage, and I'm like, why is it a thing for if you're an insurance company?
Right. Yeah, there's a horror story I've shared with people of. You mentioned the storm chasers, and it was a neighborhood that got hit particularly hard. And so there was a guy walking the neighborhood saying, hey, let me inspect your roof and see if there's damage and see if we can get insurance to pay for it.
Yeah.
Guy went up, took pictures, nothing here, moved on to the next one, gave the report to the homeowner. All was good. Another guy comes, does the same thing. He's like, no, I just had somebody, I'm good.
Yeah.
Guy says, okay, I'm going to do it anyway. Goes up on the roof, comes back down with a picture that shows half golf ball size hail damage on the roof. Guy goes, what the heck? I just had a report 2 hours before you.
Yeah.
Talk about a horror story. Guy went up with a ball pen hammer and made his own hail marks, took his own pictures, and said, you need to turn this in.
Yeah.
So goes right to your point of a lot of, for every company like you trying to just be fair for the owner and the company, you get people like that are doing stuff.
And
like
I'm biased towards the client, obviously, because these are the person I'm working with.
Sure.
So I want to try to. It's not stretching the truth. It's just like making sure. And a lot of times we'll get these estimates back from insurance companies, like, well, there's a whole plethora of things that aren't in here, but they work with you a lot of times where you go back.
They're not roofing experts.
No, they're not. And that's why if you do have a claim, I do think you should have somebody on your side. Because, I had one of my employees had a tree fall in their mom's barn, and it did some significant damage. And the adjuster came out, and they got like a $1,200 check. And then I went and looked at it. I'm like, well, that's not going to, you guys have significant damage here. It's like 4 or 5 different panels got smashed. And I'm not trying to replace the whole roof, but you want to replace them 4 or 5 panels. And then, so I just sent a quick thing over to the insurance company, and then kind of check for, it was like $8,200, which was enough to cover getting these. It was like 12 feet on both sides, and then some siding.
Yeah.
So but if you just accepted it as it was, they would only got $1,200. And that's probably because the adjuster really wasn't as educated on these things. It happens. I think a lot of it isn't malicious behavior, but when you're such a big organization, there's issues with training, educating your people, and you're trying to just have enough people to look at these things.
Sure.
So that's why you should really consider having somebody look at something that's a professional that will come look at it for you, answer the phone, talk to the insurance company for you. There's nothing, it doesn't have to be slimy.
Yeah.
It can be like, we're working together to solve this claim because you pay for coverage.
Yeah. Very good.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. As we wrap up here, get towards a couple things. Any outlook? It was, getting close to 2026. Any big initiatives or plans for Technique Roofing or you individually coming up?
No, I think I'm an optimistic person in general, so it's, take it with a grain of salt. But what I see is things are picking up. A lot of the big jobs kind of got put on hold this year. No one really, macro-wise, some of the big companies that we're spending were Japanese-owned companies. We did a lot of those this year, but some other companies just didn't really know if they wanted to put that roof on. You can get an extra year a lot of times on a roof. Yeah. It might cost you a little bit of money, but if it's a $800,000 project, if you can spend $20,000, you might just do that and try to see where your revenue is next year. So I think a lot of those roofs are going to happen this year. And a lot of people are smarter than I am, much more smarter than me, looking at the numbers, and they say it's going to go up 50% by 2034. Some of that's inflation, some of that's because these buildings are aging out. So I think this is a great time for Technique Roofing because it's a time when a lot of buildings were built 20 years ago, and a lot of warehouses because a lot of infrastructure was being built then. Yeah. And and where we're at here in Ohio, there's tons of manufacturing per capita. It's one of the largest in the nation when it comes to manufacturing per capita. It might be the number one, but and then also like Pennsylvania, Indiana, these are giant states in manufacturing. So these roofs have to be taken care of, and we're in a good spot, and we have a good reach to where we should do really well over the next decade.
Awesome.
So,
if you weren't working with your cousins at Technique Roofing, what would you be doing right now?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would say probably. I mean, again, being an optimistic person and being like passionate about things, there'd be something. It could have been anything. It didn't have to be roofing. If it would have been HVAC or, whatever the family business was. And I didn't actually think I was going to be part of the family business.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of
happened.
I graduated college. I proposed to my girlfriend at the time, and I don't have a job. I'm surprised her dad said yes to letting me marry her at that point. I was jobless. I just like.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I can go work. So I went and worked there, and it was just kind of like I was going to figure out what I wanted to do. And then they kind of, my dad and my uncle let me, when I came to the office, kind of have some autonomy, and that really, so I think a place that would have let me have some autonomy and delivering results and implementing ideas, wherever that place would have been, I would have been sucked into that.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough.
Luckily, it was where I was at, though.
Yeah, that's good. Last question. If you could be better at one thing you're working towards in the next 6 to 9 months, what would it be?
Well, I need to work out more. I'll tell you that. So,
New Year's resolution starting early?
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say that would be a good. I was listening to a video the other day, and it was someone talking about working out, and he's like, "Well, if you're not doing it now, what makes you think you're ever going to do it?" And I'm like, "Oh man," because I'm always like, "I'll get to it. I'm working," And luckily, I was really in shape. Like in high school, I was a state wrestler, and I worked.
So you know what it takes.
Yeah, I worked really hard, and my body was in like immaculate shape. So, and I could still stop. I could go run like 6 miles right now and probably make it, but at some point, it's not going to happen. I'm going to not be able to run, and I'm going to be like, "What happened to me?" So that would be one thing I need to be better at is sleeping more, working out more, and I'm eating. I'm pretty good because my wife does a really good job. So by default I'm eating well.
Fair.
But yeah, I would definitely working out and sleeping more. Sleeping more would be good, actually. Very important.
3 kids under 6. Good luck.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you figure that out.
Yeah, maybe napping at the office. Get a cot. I can just go nap.
There you go. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining in Beyond the Policy. Catch you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me on Beyond the Policy. If you got something out of today's conversation, pass it along to a friend, client, or colleague who might enjoy it too. You can always connect with me through the show notes or on LinkedIn. And remember, the best coverage always starts with the right conversations. Until next time, be better.